Hey, you came back. It's Daniel and Chris with the Superhero Show, a weekly roundup of the big talking points in the world of superhero news. Now, we've got two big bits of news this week.
It's a two-pronged attack on the viewers.
Yeah, so it's Wonder Woman and Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Which one should we start with?
Let's start with Wonder Woman.
Okay, so finally, after some rumours, we actually have a director for the Wonder Woman movie.
It's been going on for months, the search.
Yeah.
And they made a concerted effort to get a female director in to tell this story of kind of female empowerment. And it's gone on and on, but this week they made the announcement, and it's Michelle MacLaren.
And she's known primarily for her work in TV. She's directed a lot of big, successful shows in recent years. She's worked on Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, and The Walking Dead.
Yeah, she actually her debut was an X-Files episode, which is starting at the top, really.
So mainly a TV career.
Yeah, completely. It's 3 Walking Deads, 4 Game of Thrones, and 11 Breaking Bads. And she also produced Breaking Bad as well.
And she's also going to direct episode 2 of Better Call Saul.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, so she's still entrenched in that universe. But yeah, so first thoughts on this announcement, Dan?
Well, it's actually funny when the original kind of names were announced in the running. I thought they might go with her, and the reason for that is her work on Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
because I think the proposition of the Wonder Woman movie reminds me a lot of when they had to launch Thor in the Marvel Cinematic U, because you've got basically a hero that you need to be relatable, that needs to have some humanity to them, but basically they exist in a world of gods, and somehow trying to square that with the reality of the stories you're telling on Earth. And Alan Taylor, who worked on Game of Thrones, was cast as, so he was given Thor 2 to do.
Yeah.
And at the time we spoke to him, and he was talking about how his work on Game of Thrones maybe helped him deal with these kind of houses of ruling lords, and there's kind of an equivalence there, I think.
Yeah. Did he do a great job on Thor: The Dark World?
I think the problem with Thor: The Dark World is I felt like he came onto it late.
Interestingly, replacing a female director as well.
Yes, as well, yeah.
Ironic.
But I think what's most interesting about Michelle MacLaren is they're bringing her on now to work with the screenwriters. So early on, it's going to be her film. She's going to help shape it. She's not being brought on like just to direct it.
Yeah, as she would have done on Breaking Bad as well, because although she's not kind of credited as a writer, she will have developed those final few seasons with her writers and as director. And indeed, she did some of my favourite episodes, like the stuff in the final season in the desert, which I think was some of the most dramatic stuff they ever did. That was all her. So she really knows what she's doing. If she could bring some of that tension and drama to a Wonder Woman movie, I'm all over it.
And it continues a trend that we've seen recently, is hiring TV directors for big Hollywood movies that exist in shared universes. Now, my take on this is TV directors kind of understand that kind of proposition, because if you're a TV director, you might get 3 episodes per season to work on, but you know there's other directors working on that show at the same time doing different episodes, so you all have to kind of pull together to a shared goal and a shared storyline. And that's similar to what some of these cinematic universes are trying to do. You're not going to control every single movie in them, but your movie might need to cross over with said movie in 3 movies' time. So I feel like they might be more au fait with working like that, rather than having absolute control and working in isolation as more kind of quote-unquote auteur.
Yeah, well, I guess elsewhere, you mentioned Alan Taylor, and although I think you might be right, why we weren't huge fans of that film is that there were more problems going on behind the scenes with that one, and he's since gone on, he's got the Terminator gig, so we'll see how that pans out. But the other example, I guess, is the Parks and Rec dudes,
The Russo brothers
on
Winter Soldier. And
it was funny talking to Kevin Feige a while ago. He was saying to me, no one knows who these guys are, but trust me, these guys are going to be huge. You know, everyone was kind of laughing, taking a couple of sitcom guys, and now they're going to do some of the massive Marvel movies down the line. So yeah, I don't know, it's reasons to be exciting, I think.
Yeah, how do you think they'll treat that character? Like, do you think they'll kind of look at what Thor maybe did? I know a lot of people have a go at us for comparing to the Marvel Universe, but you've got to compare to it because it already exists. And Thor, they always said before, it was a very tricky one to do because God's seen this kind of really far out concept.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time we're really going to be introduced to a character in another film. Yeah. So I guess she's on board with the Snyders right now and Charles Roven, like on Dawn of Justice, seeing how that so she won't have to do any introducing of a character unless I guess they go back in time.
I wonder how much screen time she'll get in that movie, because there's some theories. Well, you know, they showed a big character poster at Comic-Con, so it feels like she's a third pillar of that movie, but she's not in the title. So whether it is maybe a more substantial but essentially a cameo role,
yeah,
I don't know. I think it depends a lot how much you can establish in that movie, or whether it will be just like tantalising.
I tell you what I want to know. I want to know what our viewers think the Wonder Woman movie news and what they want to see in the movie.
Well, it's very easy for them to do that these days.
It's very easy, isn't it?
Yes, because...
Although we've upset quite a lot of our viewers because we're not going to have that annoying little... joke at the end of each episode.
Yeah, but you can still write to the elaborate email address that is IGN_UKFeedback@IGN.com.
Yeah, if you want to.
Alternatively,
we'll get it.
Or alternatively, you can write to...
The Superhero Show at IGN. I still don't know it.
Just Superhero Show.
Superhero Show at IGN.com. Cool.
Right, second bit of news.
Let's talk about the other bit of news. Let's move on.
So...
I'm very excited about this.
Okay, after some speculation, lots of rumours, Tom Hardy in the running, supposedly, we actually have our Apocalypse for X-Men Apocalypse.
And no one called it, I don't think.
No,
we didn't, and that
came out of nowhere, really.
Yeah.
Quite surprising. Who is it?
Oscar Isaac.
Okay.
Big fan of Oscar Isaac.
Right, tell me about Oscar Isaac. I've seen him in very few things. I've not seen Inside Llewellyn Davis, and you've seen Deus Ex recently.
Well, there's a couple of things there. It's Inside Llewyn Davis, and I might have seen Ex Machina. But then I might not be able to talk about it if I haven't seen it.
Inside Llewyn Davis.
But he's just a fantastic actor. I guess I first became aware of him in a couple of duds, which were Robin Hood and Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
He was kind of the dance teacher in Sucker Punch, and he was kind of the villain in Robin Hood. He was a little bit over the top, actually. He was Prince John. But then he popped up in Drive. He was really good in Drive. And then kind of the last year, he's just kind of rocketed.
Well, he's gone stratospheric now.
Yeah, so Inside Llewyn Davis is really a great movie, a great understated performance.
What's good about his performance in that we can latch onto and maybe feel like, why is he getting these big roles?
It's a weird performance. It's kind of he underplays the role. It's kind of, he's a strange character. He's a strange dude, and he's kind of quite mysterious in the film, but really watchable. Like, you can't take your eyes off him. And then he's done what was that called? Is it The Two Faces of January? Patricia Highsmith adaptation, and that was a great performance as well. He was kind of charm personified, but he was really a con artist. So he was kind of seemed like a good guy, but really he was a bad guy. And that was kind of, if you watch that film, it's quite a multi-layered performance because the character changes a lot over the course of sort of the week that the film takes place. Ex Machina is a three-hander. And if I had seen it, I would say that he's brilliant in it, playing kind of like a kind of a cross between Bill Gates and Stephen Hawking or something like that. And again, it's one of those performances where you're never quite sure where he's coming from, but quite dark. And then that kind of leads nicely into playing Apocalypse, who's a villain, but kind of one that you kind of should be able to understand where he's coming from. A bit like Magneto, actually.
Yeah,
I do.
And that's the thing that X-Men has really specialised in over the years, having very ambiguous villains with different motivations. And so it sounds like they've got a bit of a heavyweight to go alongside some already very heavyweight actors in that franchise. You've got McAvoy, you've got Fassbender, and now you've got him. I
mean, I don't know if I call him a heavyweight. I think he's really charismatic.
Okay.
That's what I feel about him. Like, there's a lot of charisma in that movie already, and particularly, you know, by the time this film comes out, of course he will have been in Star Wars.
Yeah, he's just doing that other little film on the side.
Where kind of the rumours are he's going to be the Han Solo-like character in that universe.
So not the villainous role in that. So people might see him go from this kind of very, like you're saying, charming. That would make him very suitable for that kind of Han Solo kind of figure.
Yeah.
And then maybe he wants to play against that with this role. Maybe that's why he went.
What are your thoughts? Have you got any kind of opinion on him? I don't know if you've seen too many.
I've not seen
movies.
him much. No. I think it's an interesting casting.
Yeah.
I kind of didn't want to see Tom Hardy as much as I like Tom Hardy. I've seen him be a big villain in a superhero movie.
Yeah.
I'd rather see him be a hero in a movie. I'd rather to see him cast in The Inhumans, which is another rumour that's circulating, probably based on nothing but speculation at this minute. So I didn't really want to see him again. I feel like it's interesting casting. That's why I always like a casting that comes out of left field.
Yeah,
it makes me more interested in what they'll do with the role, like Toby Kebbell for Doom as well.
Yeah,
I find that interesting.
And also,
good actor.
He can really sing. So I'm hoping that we might see Apocalypse belt out a tune like one of his Llewyn Davis tunes.
What would that go like, Chris?
If I had wings and Nora's dove, I'd fly up the river to the one I love.
So that was this week's big news. As always, we want to hear from you. That's what we thought. We want to hear from you. You can email us at superheroeshow@IGN.com. IGN.com. Now, one of the main pieces of feedback we got this week was we didn't know how to spell Guardians. Now, Chris and I both write for a living. We very much do know how to spell Guardians.
We are professionals.
That's why it was correct in the title of the video. Those graphics were provided by Rich Burpart, who edits the show and does a lot of those graphics. Now, he wanted to come on and express his apology for basically messing up.
Sorry.
Right, for all things Marvel, DC and superheroes, stay right here on IGN.